Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We have now entered the month of November, which for me, guys, is my favorite month of college football. You know, November is when things really start to wind down. The regular season starts to come to a close. We start to see separation in the conference races. We start to see separation on the national playoff stage. And crazy things tend to happen in November. It is one of the wildest months year in and year out for college football. And I would expect nothing less, guys, in the first Saturday of November, Week 10, with our 5 biggest games of the week. And we are here to share those 5 games and our predictions for each one. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're glad you could join us today. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Help us get to 8,500 subs. We are so close, and we are hoping to get to 10,000 very soon. So make sure to continue to do that. The more you share, the more you watch, it just helps our analytics and helps our channel so much. So make sure to do that, and make sure to check out everything down in the description below as well. So much exclusive content there for you guys. We've got PrizePicks. Make sure to go utilize them. Some of the props that we're going to give you today, go use it on PrizePicks. Use it over on BetNow. Go use MyBookie. We just signed a partnership deal with MyBookie, and I can promise you do not want to miss out on that. 100% sign-up bonus over there, and every referral you give after that is a 250% sign-up bonus for you. And that's not just a one-time offer. That is every single time. So make sure to go sign up for MyBookie, guys. Go use our promo code in the link down in the description below. It's going to be well worth your time. And also, make sure to go check out our expert picks. Guys, we have some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the country. And the numbers speak for themselves. We're not just saying that. The numbers show that. So make sure to go sign up for those today, guys. Get our analysis for this week. Get our analysis. If you sign up now, you get it through all the way next year. All the way through next year. It's a year-long subscription. So sign up today for all of those things. Utilize those links, and they're for you. Help us help you. The diehard college football and just football fans, period. So make sure to take advantage of that, guys. They're going to be there all year long, and they're obviously a year-long thing. So make sure to go take advantage of it, utilize it, and start winning today. So let's take a look at who we think wins today. Who wins in Week 10? Let's start with our first game up here. It's Liberty at number 15, Ole Miss, the Hugh Freeze Bowl. This is going to be a great game, guys. This has been a game that's been circled on a lot of people's calendars really since the preseason, knowing that Hugh Freeze, the former coach at Ole Miss, now the current coach at Liberty, was going to be returning to Oxford. And after the season that Liberty had last year, winning games at Syracuse and Virginia Tech, nearly beating NC State, and then beating Coastal Carolina in the bowl game, many people thought, hey, this could be a trap game for the Rebels. And it absolutely is. You know, Ole Miss comes into this game as a little less than a 10-point favorite. Again, those spreads brought to you by MyBookie and BetNow, so make sure you go take advantage of that. But you look at Ole Miss, guys. This is a team that's, I wouldn't say reeling, but it's coming off a loss to Auburn. A loss that ruined any chance of maybe sneaking into the SEC championship, any slight hope they had, and maybe sneaking into the college football playoff. But this game is a battle between 2 great quarterbacks. Malik Willis at Liberty, who has thrown for nearly 2,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, and is Liberty's leading rusher with 684 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. And then obviously Matt Corral, for many people, the Heisman Trophy favorite right now, who has thrown for over 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, and is Ole Miss's leading rusher with 519 yards and 10 touchdowns. So Malik Willis for Liberty has accounted for 30 total touchdowns this year. Matt Corral has accounted for 25 total touchdowns this year, and both take very good care of the football. This is a game, guys, again, is emotional for Hugh Freeze. I'm probably not going to be welcome with open arms when he comes back to Oxford, but an emotional game for him. Obviously, trying to turn his life around after getting involved in that scandal, doing very well with it at Liberty. Obviously, this is a game that we think can be very high scoring between these 2 high-powered offenses, and a game that wouldn't be a surprise for me that comes down to the 4th quarter. But the main storyline I'm looking at here is 2 things. First off, Liberty can exploit Ole Miss. Ole Miss's defense is nothing. Ole Miss's defense is not good. And Liberty, who's averaging over 185 rushing yards per game, can exploit an Ole Miss defense that's allowing 182.8 rushing yards per game. The Flames can put up points, and Malik Willis with his dual threat ability is going to be tough to stop. But the major question is, can Liberty's defense stop Ole Miss? If you look at the Flames' numbers here, you're going to say, yeah, they can. The Flames are only allowing 166.4 passing yards per game. Very good, going up against one of the best passers in the country. And are only allowing 133.6 rushing yards per game. Those numbers are great. But when you look at Liberty's schedule, who have they played? They really haven't played anybody of high quality. They have 2 losses, one to Syracuse and one to ULM, of all people. So those numbers are a little bit skewed because the strength of schedule for Liberty simply isn't there. Ole Miss, without a doubt, will be the toughest team they faced. Obviously, a top 15 team is going to be very difficult on the road. So, no, I don't think Liberty's defense can get enough stops against this Ole Miss team. And that's why we're going to pick the Rebels to win in Oxford on Saturday morning. I don't see Liberty getting another huge win like they did last year, like against Virginia Tech, like they did against Coastal Carolina. I see Liberty being competitive. I really do, and I think this can be a lot of points scored here on both sides. But ultimately, Ole Miss, in the end, is going to get back on track. They're going to win this game, and they're going to spoil Hugh Freeze's homecoming. Again, a very emotional game for maybe both parties in this one. Moving on to the ACC, we have a non-conference matchup. So Wake Forest and North Carolina are both in the ACC, but this will not count as a conference game. So it will not count in terms of the standings. Obviously, it's going to go down as a loss for one of these teams, but not in the conference column. It's a very weird little loophole we've got going on here between Wake Forest and North Carolina. But very similar to the Liberty and Ole Miss game, this is a fantastic quarterback battle between Sam Hartman of Wake Forest and Sam Howell of North Carolina. So the battle of the Sams here. You look at Wake Forest, guys, they're a 10th ranked team in the country. These rankings, of course, are all based on the AP poll. We know the playoff committee releases their rankings later tonight, and we'll touch more on that later in the week, but these are strictly from the AP poll right now. Wake Forest, a top 10 team, according to the Associated Press, maybe according to the playoff committee too, they're 8-0. And they have to win out. They have to go undefeated if they even want to have a remote chance of making the playoffs. So this is why this game's so big. Is Wake Forest is a playoff caliber team, especially on offense. But North Carolina is looking to play spoiler, and they have the talent to play spoiler in this one. So Wake Forest has to win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. Obviously, the schedule is going to get a lot more difficult the next few weeks when they play at North Carolina, play NC State, a game that could determine the ACC Atlantic, then at Clemson and at Boston College. So 3 of their final 4 games coming on the road. But again, you look at this game. Wake Forest, great offense. Sam Hartman has thrown for over 2,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Leads in offense is averaging 43.4 points per game and 311.5 passing yards per game. North Carolina, on the other hand, Sam Howell has thrown for over 2,100 yards, 19 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. They're averaging 36.5 points per game and 280.8 passing yards per game. So, again, both teams can throw the ball, both teams can score. It's a matter of which defense is going to step up and stop somebody, right? Really, what I'm looking at here more than anything is Wake Forest defense hasn't been great. Wake Forest defense hasn't been great, but neither has North Carolina's. The Tar Heels, 4-4. A team that was a top 10 team to start the year is 4-4, not in the rankings, not even going to win the Coastal, and many thought they would be the favorite to do so. So this is a battle really between Wake Forest's passing game against North Carolina's passing defense, which isn't all that great, and North Carolina's run game against a Wake Forest run defense that can't stop anybody. North Carolina is averaging 200.9 rushing yards per game. Wake Forest is allowing 201.8 rushing yards per game. Wake Forest has allowed at least 160 rushing yards per game in each of the last 4 games. They've won, obviously, all 4 of those games. Even last week, they allowed 160 rushing yards to Duke, and they beat the Blue Devils 45-7. So the defense can step up. But if North Carolina, with their balanced attack, is running all over them and setting up the play action with Sam Howell, this game can be very, very high scoring, just like it was last year. At the end of the day, guys, I'm going to go with Wake Forest here. I believe Dave Clawson has his team ready to go despite being on the road, despite being slight underdogs here. Wake Forest is a slight underdog in this game. Again, MyBookie and BetNow, the places to place those bets, and our expert picks are going to give you the exact winner for that game as well. But you look at this game, guys, Wake Forest has been more consistent than North Carolina. Wake Forest has everything in the world to play for in this game. Wake Forest has shown me they can win on the road, and North Carolina, quite frankly, has just been way too inconsistent. A home loss to Florida State a few weeks ago, barely escaping Miami a few weeks ago, losing by 10 to Notre Dame. You don't know which Tar Heel team is going to show up, but I know which Wake Forest team is going to show up. One that's going to light you up through the pass and one that's going to try to get to 1 or 2 key stops, and that, in the end, to me, that's all it's going to take. So I like Wake Forest on the road to keep their playoff hopes alive to set up a huge Atlantic showdown against NC State next week in a game that could determine the division. Moving on to the SEC, we're going to touch quickly on this one because this is our game of the week. The only ranked versus ranked matchup in Week 10. Number 12 Auburn at number 13 Texas A&M. One key stat you need to keep in mind going into this game is that Auburn has never lost in College Station. Since A&M joined the SEC, Auburn is 4-0 in College Station. That's kind of hard to believe considering A&M prides themselves on the 12th man. But you look at this game, guys, this is big for the SEC West. If Auburn wins this game, and then, of course, wins out up until the Iron Bowl, the Iron Bowl will determine who wins the SEC West, assuming Alabama doesn't slip up to LSU or Arkansas. Very unlikely. So if Auburn wins this game at Texas A&M, the Iron Bowl determines who goes to Atlanta to face Georgia. If Texas A&M wins this game and the Aggies win out, and then Auburn beats Alabama, which is still possible, the Aggies then win the SEC West because they, of course, own the tiebreaker over the Crimson Tide. So this is a big game in determining maybe how the SEC West plays out and really how big that Iron Bowl could be, the stakes of the Iron Bowl come the season finale. That's how big this game is, kind of looking very far ahead. Auburn, of course, is coming off the big win over Ole Miss where they stifled Matt Corral and that Rebels offense. Texas A&M is coming off a bye week. They beat Alabama a few weeks ago and then ran over Missouri and South Carolina. The million-dollar question here, guys, is can Zach Calzada get the job done? He's been mediocre at best, but can he get the job done against an Auburn defense that continues to play better every single week and just held Ole Miss to their lowest point total since Lane Kiffin took the job last year? So this is a big game and a big question. A&M is going to have to rely heavily on the run game, and Bo Nix is going to have to show up again, just like he did against Ole Miss, just like he has all year. He's going to have to show up, play lights-out football to win in a very hostile Texas A&M environment, very hostile College Station environment to keep Auburn's slight playoff hopes and SEC championship hopes alive. And again, we'll have more analysis on this game later on in the week, actually on Wednesday. We'll break down Auburn A&M in more detail and share our projected winner for that game, but that's going to be the best one of the week by far. Our second game of the week is Oregon and Washington. You might ask yourself, why is a top 10 team versus a 4-4 Washington team? Why is that your second game of the week? Well, again, you look at Oregon, they're to me in a very similar spot to Wake Forest in the sense of the ACC is very weak, the Pac-12 is very weak, but if both teams win out and win their conference championships, they will have a chance at the college football playoff. Oregon, of course, though, having a much better resume win than Wake Forest, the Ducks obviously beating Ohio State on the road back in week 2. So this game, huge for Oregon's playoff hopes. They lose, they're out, they're done, forget it. If they win, they stay alive. But also, if Oregon loses this game to Washington, the Pac-12 North becomes wide open. Because if Washington wins this game, Oregon, Washington State, Oregon State, and Washington will all have 2 conference losses. So we're going to have like a 4-way tie here within the Pac-12 North, and who knows who might come out of that division. But that's only if Washington wins this game. The thing is, as big as a rivalry game as this is, Oregon has dominated it for nearly 2 decades now. Washington has defeated Oregon just twice since 2004. Just 2 times since 2004. And the Huskies obviously have been a major disappointment in 2021. A team that started off in the top 20 to start is just 4-4 and has been wildly inconsistent and has not really found much of an identity on offense. Oregon is very balanced on offense. They have a defense that's been lackluster but is getting the job done. Again, we're going to break down this game in more detail on Thursday, and we'll have more analysis for it in our projected winner here because, again, you never can sleep on rivalry games. Despite the history and despite the way both teams are going, you just never know. You just never know. And our final game up here on the board, guys, is number 16, Texas San Antonio, UTSA at UTEP. And if you had told me earlier in the year, if you had told me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I don't even care. I never thought I'd be talking about this game on our big board. As a top 5 game of the week, are you kidding me? Texas San Antonio in UTEP of all people? But that's what we have here. Give credit to the Roadrunners. Give credit to Jeff Traylor and the job that he has done down in San Antonio. 8-0, 16th in the country according to the AP poll. An offense that's averaging 39.4 points per game and is led by a great duo of their quarterback and Frank Harris, who was thrown for over 1,700 yards and 16 touchdowns, and one of the best running backs in the Conference USA in Sincere McCormick, 891 yards and 9 touchdowns. This Texas San Antonio team is legit. And you might ask yourself, why is this game up here? Why is it a big deal? Well, because with a UTEP win, if UTEP and the Miners upset UTSA, Texas San Antonio, UAB, and UTEP would all have 1 conference loss in the Conference USA West. So this game right here really is going to be a matter of UTSA wins, they basically have the West locked up. Feels like it's pretty much a done deal. UTEP wins, chaos ensues in the Conference USA West. UTSA, slight chance of a New Year's Six Bowl, depending on what happens with all the other group of 5s, is done. And we see some chaos within the Conference USA. We see some fun over there. So this is big for the West standings in the Conference USA. I know people are going to be like, we don't care about the Conference USA. We don't care about that. But this is big. This is big. And we deserve, and really we should be talking more about Jeff Traylor and Texas San Antonio. Again, a guy that just signed a $28 million extension to stay with the program after many thought he'd leave to take that Texas Tech job. So this game is big. Can Texas San Antonio keep their dream season alive? Kind of this year's Coastal Carolina, if you ask me. Or can UTEP play spoiler? A UTEP team who has surprised everybody, 6-2 on the year, so they're going bowling. The only losses to Boise State and Florida Atlantic. A team that's not flashy on offense, just averaging 24.9 points per game, but is great on defense, allowing just 294.8 total yards per game and shutting down the run, allowing 97.3 rushing yards per game. So this could be a game where Frank Harris really has to win the game through the air for the Roadrunners instead of maybe Sincere McCormick, who they typically like to lean on. A great defensive battle both ways. The Roadrunners are only allowing 80.3 rushing yards per game, a little less than 300 yards per game as well. So great defensive battle here. We're going with the Roadrunners, though, a team that's been more consistent and a team to me that obviously owns that offensive edge and still has everything to play for, trying to keep that undefeated season and undefeated dream season alive, guys. They have been quite the Cinderella story this year. And this is a late night game. All the top games are going to be done by the end of the day. So around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, this is the game you need to watch. End your night by watching the Roadrunners and giving them some credit out of the Conference USA. So there you have it, guys, your 5 biggest games of the week. It seems like a lackluster week a little bit, guys, but again, it's November. We're going to see some upsets up here on the board. We're going to see some upsets outside of these 5 games. We're going to continue to see the conference races heat up. We're going to get to more clarity within the conference races. And when the playoff rankings come out, everything changes, right? The passion and the importance of every single game changes from here on out. And November is about to get really, really wild, guys. Like I said, it's my favorite month of college football. Things start to heat up, and we're going to see that on full display this Saturday. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And check out everything down in the description below. I'm telling you, go check out MyBookie. 100% sign-up bonus, 250% sign-up bonus for every referral you have. We're going to have picks out for that to tell you what to do over on our expert picks on thegridironexpert.com. You sign up for those. You use those over on MyBookie. It's a win-win for everybody because you're going to come out a winner. Go take advantage of that. One of the best sites in the country for that. The same can be said for BetNow. The same can be said for PrizePicks. And, of course, the same can be said for us here at the Gridiron Expert. So make sure to check out all those links down in the description below. Help us help you. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.